Hiya, it's time for another video, and this was a really bad choice of shirt. So why am I doing this video today? Okay, so it's I've had a couple of weeks off, and it's been a couple of weeks off my main channel, and obviously this one hasn't had a huge amount of content up on it quite yet, and I'll explain why on that one in a little while. But it kind of got me thinking. I've been lucky enough to be able to upgrade some equipment in that time, as well as kind of move forward with some other funky ideas and bits and bobs. And I thought I'd share that with you because there is a lot of videos on YouTube and posts on social media and everywhere else saying that you don't need to upgrade new cameras and all that sort of nonsense. It's all about the photographer or the videographer. And I agree to some degree. Let me explain why. The reason I think that sometimes buying new gear can absolutely make you a better photographer is it can, on occasions, and not always, it can on occasions inspire you to do something different. For instance, I have always been a Canon shooter. This is my 77D. This is now gone up for sale, and it's one of these things where I loved this camera. I love this camera so much, and I used it a lot. Then I was super excited to see what Canon was going to come out with last year, and then they came out with the Canon R, and then this year the RP. Both of them a huge letdown for the hybrid shooting that I do. Now, I wanted 120 frames per second, partially because because my illness makes me a bit wobbly. I can be a little bit shaky, and when you're trying to record some sexy slow motion B-roll in 60 frames per second and you're trying to get a nice smooth pan, sometimes, because that 60 frames per second is only going to be cut down in half, you want maybe a sort of a 3 or 5 second clip. You've got to kind of get that nice and smooth, and you can absolutely guarantee that I will have had a moment where it would have gone all a little bit, what? And so by doing that, that just totally knackers the thing up. So I wanted 120 frames per second because I could have a little bit of a smoother movement, a little bit quicker, be able to slow it down, and jobs are good. I also like the idea of 4K because you can punch in a little bit. Possibly that was a bit too close, but you can punch in and get sort of a secondary camera angle. And I was really hoping for these kind of things to be kicking off with the new Canons. That obviously didn't happen, or at least not to the extent of the beast that I feel that I've graduated up to. Now, I decided after doing a lot of homework about these things, as you do, many nights watching YouTube at 3 o'clock in the morning, wondering what the hell's going on with your life. I decided to go for the Fuji XT3, and that's what I'm recording this on right now. It'll probably be featured in a video later on down in the channel, but for me, this camera does a fantastic job of being able to do everything I want it to do with the 4K, nice high bit rate as well. We've also got the 1080 120 frames per second, which is fantastic, and a few other bits and bobs. I don't want to go into it too much, but I love the kind of the fact that it's got physical dials, the aperture ring on the lenses and the dials on the top for your ISO and your shutter speed. I think that is fantastic. It looks bomb, and that kind of inspires me to go out and shoot it a little bit more. But that being said, it's a very, very capable camera. Now, this 77D is a very, very capable camera. However, it wasn't quite doing what I needed it to do, which meant filming was tougher. I could film more on some days than others, and it was a little bit more challenging. However, now I've got the XT3, I can do a lot more, a lot easier. Now, I'm not saying the XT3 is an upgrade for everybody, or it's something that you necessarily should go out and buy, although it's definitely worth having a little look at. But it's something that, for me, it worked for my style, and because of that, once I've got that camera, or once I bought that camera, I was able to have a little bit more of a world opened up for me. Now, also when it comes to new gear and being able to go out and shoot more, I was also able to get a Hero 7. I traded in my previous Canon 200D for the Hero 7. Now this is what I'm going to be using attached to my wheelchair once the weather sort of improves a little bit, and that's going to allow me to go out and do some vlogging, some photography vlogs out and about and giving it some proper beans. But all I've got to do is just figure out a way of mounting this onto the wheelchair so I can face me and then have an easy sort of spin round to face out and forward as well. But with the sort of the mega stabilization that these bad boys have got, it's absolutely going to help me do that. So once again, having this camera is going to allow me to go out and film more out in public and do a better job. It's going to inspire me, or it does inspire me to do more, which I'm very excited about. And rather than thinking it's all about the gear, obviously you can do a lot of these things without all of that gear. However, for me, in my situation, as I keep mentioning, it just worked out brilliantly. The Hero, mainly because if you're on a wheelchair and you're pushing yourself, you can't hold the camera in your hand. You can't vlog while pushing, so they're all stationary vlogs and it's all a bit of a challenge. So I thought that would be a bit of fun for something later on in the channel. So it just kind of got me thinking that the gear that I've got, that I've been able to get over the last few weeks, has given me a new fire. It's given me a new excitement for going out and shooting, and that's both photography and video, and that to me is invaluable. It doesn't need to have had all of those bits and bobs to make it. You don't need all of those bits to go out and take video or take photographs, but for me it just has really inspired me to go out and do some good stuff. So that's one thing. Another thing, and another reason I'm doing this video, is because I am going to start editing using LumaFusion on the iPad Pro, and I'm super excited about that. Basically, my Mac is a late 2014 R9, and it's really struggling with 4K, particularly with H.265 or something like that. So going on to LumaFusion on the iPad is going to not only give me some mobility when it comes to going out and doing bits and bobs, but it also means that I'm going to be able to maybe process things a little bit easier. It takes a little bit longer to get the information in. Essentially what I'm using is I've copied Ted Forbes from The Art of Photography, and I've got one of these bad boys. This is a LaCie and DJI Co-Pilot, and basically there was a little bit of awkwardness getting this tied up to the iPad, but once I managed to do that, I can take my SD card out of the camera, back it up directly into this little thing, and then I can go from here into the iPad via the DJI and LaCie app. So that to me is absolutely, and it's super rugged as well. And you know, I see something really cool. I don't know if it's going to come up on here, but can you see that there's a little thing? You wouldn't think that there is a screen there, but there is. It's just the little things that make me happy. But there we go. It's a thing, and it goes off, and then you'd go, well, where's the screen? And then you click it, boosh, screen. So what I'm trying to get to, what my point is there will always be people that say, and quite rightly say, that the gear doesn't make the photographer. A nice camera doesn't help with your composition. A nice camera doesn't help with your knowledge of ISO and shutter speed and aperture and so on and so forth. However, sometimes once you've got all of that under your belt, a nice new camera, whether it's a brand new camera per se or whether it's just new to you, can inspire you to go out and do something very cool. And that is hopefully where we're going to be kicking off from in 2019. So there will be more content on this channel. I'm super looking forward to doing it. There's going to be some vlogs once I figure out how this is going to get attached to the wheelchair, and there's also going to be some maybe some more gear review, but some more kind of photography based stuff as well. Anyway, that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope this edits nicely on there. I'm a little bit tense, but I will see you very, very soon. Thanks for watching. For me, this camera, for me,